Yes, guys. So we're live for episode number 5 of the Mindset TuneUp show, and I want to say the word excited because I'm excited about tonight. Even though it's kind of come after a tragic event on, that I heard about on Saturday night, which was the passing of a lady called Jenny Joint, who both Will and myself knew and been in contact with, and again, there was going to be a break from the Mindset Tune-Up show while I had my hernia operation, so it's going to be a few weeks off. But Will rang me on Sunday night and said some things to me that were very powerful. And just to let you know something about Will, I've got a lot of respect for this man because not just for what he's been through in life, which has been a lot and it's been tough, but he speaks his truth, and I can't ask for any more than that of someone. He's raw and he's honest, but he speaks his truth. And me and him have had some honest conversations, and at times we've not seen completely eye to eye, but that's not held either of us back from speaking our truth, and it's not stopped us respecting each other, which is again what I love about him as well. He's a very respectful man. And a lot of people have got a lot of time and love for this guy. I know he doesn't like compliments, so I'm getting them out of the way now while he's backstage and he can see he's pissing himself. He won't like compliment when he's on, so I'm doing it now. But he's an absolute star, and I'm blessed that he's come into my life massively. He's helped me, and I think this is going to be deep tonight. So, guys, as I said with the Jack one, these are Manchester lads, and they swear. So there will be swearing involved in the talk tonight. Again, it's not offensive. Like I said, we're not aiming at anyone. It's just in general conversation. But I just want to bring that up in case you're watching with kids and stuff like that. And again, it's going to be a raw conversation tonight, guys. We are talking about suicide. And again, we've a lot of stuff's gone out over social media in terms of respect and love in memory of Jenny. And this has fueled this to come so soon in terms of this. But one thing I want to just say before Will comes in, which is when Will rang me, he made it very apparent, because me and Will have had a conversation about could we have done more, and certain things that have gone on, and you question yourself, you feel guilt and all of these things. And Will kind of made it very apparent to me there are things out there to help people that are trying to help someone that's suicidal. And it really kind of took me back, because as much as we think we can help, there are actual organizations out there that are trying to give people the information to help people in that situation. And I think that's something that we're going to touch upon tonight. And again, Will's unfortunately lost both his father and his uncle to suicide, and he's had suicidal thoughts and been, I'm going to let Will kind of touch on that tonight with himself. But like I say, it's going to be very raw and deep tonight. So I hope everyone can be appreciative of where this conversation is going. But we felt it needed to be done, and I'm blessed that Will's come on so soon. And again, I know we'll be honest in everything we speak about tonight. And just to finish off by saying, guys, that when we talk about a subject like this, there might be views that you hear that you disagree with. But as I've said before, it's about being open-minded. Sometimes your perspectives change, sometimes your beliefs change, sometimes it doesn't. But at the same time, you can't fault someone else for having an opinion or the way they think. So if anything is said tonight that you disagree with, guys, please bear in mind that it's coming from heart. From Will, it's coming from true experience. So you've got to have that appreciation that this is only coming from good, from wanting to help. And again, not just wanting to help the person that's trying to commit suicide or is at that severe level, but also the people that are trying to help in that scenario and maybe just don't know how. And we really feel it's important that we give those people the power as well. So we've got some, Will's told me about, and I've been researching, looking at, which is powerful, some organizations that have put things in place like a free course to help you understand this more. So I'm going to bring Will in now, guys. So guys, episode number 5, and I'm bringing the main man, Will I Can, into the room.
I was pissing about that on the computer.
I thought I'd get the compliments out of the way before you had a go at me when we started moving.
Yeah.
But Will, man, as I always say, man, thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. It was short notice, but I think this is something obviously that we're massively driven off, not just from Saturday, but I think this is something within you of wanting to help. From the time I've known you, you've spoke about it so much.
It's just massive and it's real, isn't it? Like it's the biggest killer in young people from the age of 15 up to 29. It's the biggest killer in men, like more than anything else, more than heart disease, cancer, anything. Like it's just a massive subject, and it's not going nowhere. No matter how much you try and swerve the conversation, not talk about it, ignore it, it's not going nowhere. It's just getting worse, to be honest. with everything. So I just feel
No,
like obviously with what's happened on the weekend with Jenna, obviously with it being obviously fresh, I think obviously it's a good time to kind of reach out and let people know what's there. There's a lot of bereavement support in Manchester, do you know what I mean? With Greater Manchester Bereavement Service, even for people like for the first time, if anyone's you don't have to be you don't have to be related to someone to bereave, to go through bereavement, you know what I mean? If it's your friend, and it's important that you reach out to these services because, like the Greater Manchester Bereavement Support, there is services out there that if they'll give you support, but they won't give you support if somebody close to you has died from suicide. Like there is, so like you, then that's the way it is sometimes. But the Greater Manchester Bereavement Support, they will support you through suicide and stuff like that as well if you're grieving through it, like if you grieve it, if you're in any grief from it or anything, which is good. It's just about knowing the different things that are out there. Do you know what I mean?
and do you think? And again, I'm going to ask questions tonight, but I've explained to Will, and Will obviously appreciates the honesty we got with each other. But do you think that you've got an awareness of a lot of these organisations and charities and aspects out there to help because of obviously everything you've been through, or do you think you would have known about it anyway? Like, because obviously some of the stuff you told me about is taking me back in terms of, Ben, you need to get your head around a little bit more of this.
Only recently.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Yeah, only recently. No. Like I wasn't really on this mission, to be fair. To this is my third year out of jail now, and I wasn't really on this mission, to be fair, till I've kind of changed and grew as a person, and kind of grew into a person who now cares more about others and cares about. I've always only give a fuck about myself, really. That's all I've ever needed to do. Obviously, after my dad's killed himself and my uncle's done it, and the problems at home. Obviously, my mum didn't cope very well with it. I've had to do a transition from only ever having to care about myself to like wanting to care about others now, because I don't know what it come from. Something just grew inside of me where I just felt like I was in a position to help someone else now. And then over the past 3 years is when I have started learning, and when putting my Instagram page out there and stuff, and being in the correct, started getting in touch like with charities like the Anti-Sedan Fund and Directions for Men. That's led on to working with people like this lovely woman called Adele, who I think she runs the Shining Light on Suicide page, and then the Ripple suicide preventions come off that. So you just start connecting more dots, and then as you're connecting, you start learning, don't you? So it's free. Obviously, it's only the past 3 years where I've started picking up on these services, which is one of the main things that was a problem in 2001. God, that's 11. What's that? That's 21 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in 2001, me and my family fell apart because the help wasn't there. So rather, if there was help there for someone coming around helping me and my mum, helping our family, then the family wouldn't have fell apart. And that's one of my biggest things to me is when suicide has happened. Like I just want people need to know that the help's there and to go to it, because it's not going to be something that'll ever leave you within a week or 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%, man, and that's powerful. And again, it's already making me grateful that we're doing the show, because I think you're talking real help right now just from the things you're saying. Something that I want to ask you, Will, is you kind of talked, and you've told me quite a bit. A lot of that I don't know, but you have told me quite a bit about your past and your journey and stuff. But when you said there, like you only used to give a fuck about yourself, but then now I know you give a fuck about others, you're trying to help others. But I do see that you do now give a fuck about yourself too.
Yeah,
and I know that you still struggle and you still have ups and downs, which you've been very honest with me about, and appreciate that.
yeah.
But can you tell me the difference? Because I think this is important for people to hear.
Yeah.
The old Will didn't give a fuck about anyone else but himself, but that was in a bad way. But
Yeah.
for my now knowing you, when you do giving a fuck about yourself, I mean that's a good thing, because I know.
So it's two different types of, so having to only care about myself at the time was to only care about myself in terms of making money, getting through the day, you know, obviously just living a lifestyle of just living that negative lifestyle, which I only knew and the only lifestyle I've been shown. So in terms of when I say at that time I only cared about myself, I was only caring about what was going on, which was all negative.
Yeah.
I didn't have no time for caring, trying to like shed light on good things or care about myself in a good way and put that self belief and that work in myself. So there is two types of.
Yeah, man.
I suppose you've got surviving. I was surviving back then. Now I've kind of survived, and now I'm putting the pieces together now for a better me. I suppose I would be. I don't know whether that would explain it.
No, I think that explains it perfectly. I think that explains it
Yeah.
perfectly. And again, I just because I think that I've spoke to obviously a few people that know you, not speaking behind your back, speaking in good terms. But I've said like when I first met you, like you were in such you're in such a good place in terms of everything. And you were flying, you were fucking smashing it, man. And at that point, I wouldn't have understood a lot of what had gone on in your past without you telling me or without me reading it. And you weren't hiding it at that point. I just didn't know. I just saw this guy, knew you'd been in the army, knew you'd been in prison. Didn't know about your father and uncle at that point until I learned more. But you were strong, man. You come on that challenge and you were unbelievable. And I think that before kind of a step into kind of obviously, because I want to talk a little bit about you today, because I think it's important because, again, I'm not giving a compliment here, I promise you. But I think at the minute you can give inspiration to a lot of people, man. Because I think where the journey you've been on has been fucking horrendous, mate. But to dig into that a little bit, what was where were you left, mate? And again, anything I ask you don't want to answer, please don't, mate. But
Yeah.
when your dad killed himself, your uncle killed yourself, like where were you left at that point? Because what hit me, one of the hardest things, there were a lot of things in that video that fucking hit me, and I watched it when you first put it out, but I watched it again last night, man. And when you said like, I just wanted to be with my dad, I was like, mate, I was like, what, man? And then like, where did that, if you don't mind saying about, like, where did that leave you at that minute in time? Where did your thoughts go? Where did your head go? Like, where you left, man?
So do you know what's crazy? So today I've been chatting to a girl called Rebecca who she's reached out to me and she's giving this EFT therapy, like to this tapping stuff. And
I think she's just commented now that Rebecca, I think she's
yeah, and it was man, so like crazy, man. Like, so we was talking about I started going through everything that happened on that day, and majority of the day's blank, honestly. And then even so, like when I've come home from school, I've walked in the house. Obviously my mum and my sister was on the sofa. They told me like my dad had killed himself, and I've left the house. I wanted out the house, like no, so I've left the house, gone onto the estate, gone to RBA, gone to the shops, got to the shops, burst out crying, and gone home. And then all I remember on that day is leaving my friend's house to come home, going in the house, leaving the house, and then coming back to the house. And then I don't remember anything else for the next. Like I can't picture anything else. Can't picture any of it.
Wow.
And then a few days later, my uncle come in the house, and then that's the next time I felt something. Like that's the next time. Like we were chatting today, me and this Rebecca, and it's like that's the time I realized that my dad had killed himself. Was 3 days later. That was like my first acknowledgement, and everything else is like blank, apart from those three things: coming home, leaving the house, and then coming back to the house, and then everything else is empty until my uncle come back in the house. And then when my uncle come round, then that was like 3 days later. It was certain scenario happened, and I remember that. And then after that, it was blank. And after that, I'm in Northern Ireland then at my uncle's house, at my auntie's house, and I can't remember how I got there or anything in between it.
Wow.
It's just I've just took snippets away from it all. Do you know what I mean?
Was the uncle that you went to in Northern Ireland the uncle that took his life?
No. So he was in Blackpool. That was my dad's sister and then obviously her husband. When we was in Northern Ireland, he was death by misadventure, you know. So obviously it's a tough one because I've got an auntie who won't have that my uncle's killed himself. She will not have it because in the inquest it said death by misadventure. Now the law only changed in 2011 for the coroner's report, you see. So
Right.
before 2011, if the coroner just could not prove whatsoever that it was suicide, he wasn't allowed to say it. But then he changed the law where if the coroner believed it was an act of suicide, then he could say it. So the amount of drugs my uncle took would have put an horse to sleep. But because he couldn't prove that it was took to do it, he couldn't say it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then that's what happened with my uncle. And I remember all I remember from that is being in bed in my cousin's bedroom, and then my auntie phoning him from Blackpool and telling us that had happened. And I just remember lying there in my bed at that point, and I don't remember anything else. He just takes snippets, and then he's kind of more the badness that happened after that for me. Do you know what I mean?
So
Obviously, my mum not handling it well, and obviously getting in with my dad's mates, who obviously, well, you it's child exploitation, really, isn't it? From there on in, all the life of taking drugs, dealing drugs, and that life was shown to me. Do you know what I mean?
and at that point, was that? Do you think at that point that was like in your eyes a
That's what.
positive?
So I was gonna say, to be fair, like I was after everything that happened, you're just left vulnerable, aren't you? Like I'm 12 years old. I've got no dad now, got no uncle now. My mum's not dealing with it. I've not got her now. And it's like, what do you do? Do you know what I mean? I'm hanging around with my dad's mates now in flash cars and doing whatever they're doing. That's where it left me. So
In what point during that time, in the period after, did you start to find an identity with that, or did you always feel kind of lost? Like where in that, like
that's
say,
when I ended up moving into like a flat on National Road with one of my dad's mates, and he obviously this is when obviously everything that started, like obviously taking drugs, selling drugs, and all that. And he left that flat then, and I stayed there. But then I was always on my own there. This is about 15 years old, and then these were the times when I started to learn to take drugs, and I was taking more of them with the money I was making. And these are the times. This is in that flat on my own. There was I don't like. My mum didn't cope with it because the help wasn't there at the time. My mum obviously was drinking a lot, seeing different men hurting. You know what I mean? Men taking advantage of my mum's situation. She was in a lot of pain. So I was kind of dealing with all that, like not like arguing and fighting with strangers in my own dad's house at 15, 14 years old, and going back to this flat. And I just wanted to be with my dad. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be with my mum drunk. I didn't want to be with these strangers in my dad's house. I didn't. Do you know what I mean? The only person I wanted to be with wasn't there. And then obviously that's when you try and start. Obviously, it's weird because you say I was trying to attempt to take my own life, but I don't know whether it was young. So because I was young, the amount of force I was using wasn't strong enough. Because like 14, 15, I don't know whether he was trying to do the same things now. Would he be more effective, or you know?
yeah,
So yeah, that's where you end. That's kind of where I ended up. So and then I
and,
joined the army. Then it was like I need to get away from this. So I went and got to that was from about 15 that lasted to 20, and then I went away. Then it got to after 5 years of just being in this bad space and living in this flat and taking drugs and earning money and just living that negative lifestyle. I just needed away. So I packed my stuff and joined the army and went and got on the train to Catterick, and
and
that was my next chapter. You know.
just a question out of curiosity, and I'm actually asking this for myself. Don't think I've asked. I know we spoke about the army, but probably not this. Like, what do you think the army did for you? Whether you've got certain negative things that happen there or whatever, or positive things, like what do you think the army did for you at that point? Do you think that was the best
Saved
thing
my
that could?
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saved my life. I won't be here now because of it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I've got some of the worst times ever and some of the best times ever has come from the army, but it's just the way it's gonna be in it in the infantry. Do you know what I mean?
And when you came back from the army,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you speak about that you went straight kind of back into old ways.
Yeah, straight into it. Just more drug addiction when I come back from the army. So before I went to the army, there's a lot more money involved, earning more money, stuff like that. As I come back from the army, there's more drug addiction. selling drugs to just take drugs, and do you know what I mean?
Do you think that when you came, and again, mate, I'm only speaking because I kind of want to highlight and help raise awareness of everything, and I know that the reason, guys, why I was proud that Will come on is because I know Will will just fucking speak his truth, and he'll know, he says it to me a lot, but he knows I've got the best intention with the things that I ask or the things that I do. But when you came back from the army, do you think you felt like that was another loss in terms of you'd found a family or you'd found something and then you came away? Do you think it was that, or did you not? Did you think you wanted to get that chapter?
No, the army's just a whole kind of, God, that's just a whole new conversation. That just totally comes away from suicide and my dad's suicide and my childhood. That's just a whole new kind of worms. That's actions. Like, there's a lot of guilt from Afghanistan, and these actions that created other actions that resulted in people's deaths and these children being hurt, and that's the other end of the spectrum. That's got now to do with the suicide. Do you know what I mean? Any help to do with the army?
When you come out of it, but when you come out of the army, my point was when you come out and you came back to Manchester, if that's where you come back to, Manchester.
Yeah.
You feel when you got back like you'd lost something again because you'd found something there, or was it like I needed to end that chapter of the army, and now I've just got potentially nothing to venture? Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to stay.
I don't know. I was all set for coming out. I got my truck license and started work, but then taking drugs numbs pain. Like, if I'm wired, all I have to think about is being wired. Or when I start to feel less wired, I'm on the phone, where can I get some more drugs from to be wired? That's all I have to think about, which is a lot easier to think about than all this other shit. So if I can just constantly stay wired, then there's problem solved, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. And I think like you've highlighted there a powerful quote, which is it numbs pain.
Yeah,
drugs numb pain, and
yeah,
it's why a lot of people turn into
for me, it did. Do you know what I mean?
And I'm not skipping through Will's story and just trying to make sure, because like we've not even touched on the fact you've been to prison, mate. Like we've already talked about so much of your fucking life, and like it's like wow, but then you hit prison after that.
Yeah, prison's kind of, God, out of 30, prison's the best place I ever lived.
Wow.
So there's not really much else to say. I was at my best in there.
When you say you're at your best, what do you mean, mate?
Like I was at my best. I was clean. I was getting clean. I was in this transition of my daughter was born. I didn't get to see her. And I was missing stuff, and I was understanding everything I was missing out on. I was at my best. I was growing then into a better person. Do you know what I mean? And when I was in jail, I was around a lot of people who was connected to me. Dad, like good friends and stuff who knew me dad, and that was comforting. And the routine, my fitness, my diet, everything about me was I was at my best. So like say like the 28 years, but at that point, the 28 years of my whole life, the best time spent was actually probably in jail. I can't say that because
I know.
I just mean in terms of routine, and I was at my best. That's when I was growing. That's when I was changing. That's when, do you know what I mean? Because obviously I've got a lot of other good times, like when my daughter's born and all that.
No, of course, mate. I think that what you've talked about there made complete sense, and it comes apparent a lot of what you said there. Question that I got for you, Will, which is quite interesting, which is, I know because we've had a conversation about this, and you talked about your frustrations with the system. Yeah, so we're not going to get into that right now. That's again, we could probably do our 10 of these shows, mate. But but what I wanted to ask is, even though you disagree with how the jail system's run and what happens on in there in terms of the politics,
yeah, the fact that it's for money earner for everyone.
But in terms of it being that transitional point for you, where did that kind of, when you came out of prison, where were you then? In terms of mentally, in terms of thought processes, because I think that's something we're not going to touch on yet, but we will do. But through all of your life, the negative thought processes must have been overriding. So was there a point in prison where positivity in your mind start to outweigh negativity?
All the time. Every thought was positive. I didn't get out, I'm gonna do this. So I mean, I'm on the phone, like promising Louise the world and all my plans. So I mean, as did like a learning together program with the University of Manchester in criminology with their students and stuff. I'm signing a book contract with the University of Manchester on the 11th of March. I'll have a book out next year with them and their criminology department. So like all these positive thoughts I put into play, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. So and it was good, man. I was good for the first 2.5 years, and then that swim got put back, and I was really ill. And then when I was really ill, I knew my body was suffered, and then I tried swimming and I couldn't swim. And then that was a massive setback time for me, and I'd have relapses, and I was drinking, and I took drugs again. This was all like from September onwards last year, and I finally got out of it over Christmas, doing really well over Christmas. But it's been a tough from August last year to now. It's been tough, man. Another tough battle for me, but I'm coming out the other side, not fully yet, but you know, I know myself. And
I think like when I met you, it was before that. So I met you a few months, well, probably 5 months before you came out of swim, and then you were ill, and it really took you for 6, man. And that again it was hard to see because of the work you were putting in, the shape you got in, your mentality, the way you were speaking, the way you wanted to help not just others but yourself and your family and all of these things. And then, like you say, again, you hit a bad patch, and you were very open and honest and that's what I love about you as well. You even on social, you're not pulling any punches. You're living your life. You're showing your life, which I think is an amazing thing to do, because you're showing the highs and the lows. But unfortunately, your lows were low, and had to transition a lot. Bad thoughts coming through again, and bad actions, and it transitioned.
Yeah.
In terms of like transitioning out of that, can you talk to people how hard that was and is for you? Because I think that's something that has been an eye
It's
opener.
tough, man. Like it's tough because not only am I dealing with myself this time, so in the past when I've dealt with myself, I've got that experience. This time I'm dealing with getting so high and doing so well at what I was setting to do, and then having it ripped from me. I was having to deal with that on top. So it just added extra pressure to kind of deal with, because then I was trying to get back swim fit again, which I am now. And it was tough, man. It was really tough because it left. I was ill for months, and then obviously I lost my hearing, which was due to the illness. I've been on steroids for months. Like, to go from such physical peak condition to, I left swimming for 8 hours. I was able to do an 8-hour swim to being able to last 20 minutes in the water, and it just deflated me, man.
Yeah.
It just really deflated me. It hurt. It really did hurt. I put everything into it. Moved the swim back, and then I just couldn't get out of this state. I started drinking every weekend again. Didn't want to train. I was training. There was no. It's like I give up on my training because I just lost it all. But then it was just about staying disciplined, you know. Yeah. When I didn't want to train, I went. When I didn't want to make my food for the next day, I made it. I just had to stay so disciplined. And I finally started coming out of that in November. And I've been staying out of it for a long time till a couple of weeks ago. Now, it's my birthday on March the 12th. And then I've turned 33, which is the same age as my uncle, when my uncle died the week after my dad. So, and then I was just always thinking about him lately, and I was just like resonating to that and realizing how young he really was, because of realizing how young I am now. And I've had a couple of like setbacks recently. I've had a couple of nights out drinking and stuff. But then I've held on to that. It's only been a couple of times, and I've held on to them, and I've woke up Sunday annoyed, got back in the gym Monday and just smashed that week. Been having fantastic weeks again. It's hard. I'm just not back where I was, but I'm in good condition. And I just feel like with what's happened with Jenna on Saturday, kind of put everything back in me what was in me the first time I started.
Wow.
and I just feel like it was all gone till this weekend. I feel like I was holding my head above the water, but I was only treading it. And then, like, after Saturday, I feel like everything's just regenerated now. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like this month's gonna be such a massive month. Like, God, like the way I am mentally in my head now for what I want to do. Like, that girl was on eBay, like emailing swimming trunks, getting me free swimming trunks, getting me free flasks for at the side of the water. And like, I was reading messages go all the way back to April last year with her talking about the swim. And she's like, right, now I'm on it. So last message was, I'm on a roll now. I've got you these swimming trunks. She's like, I want to get your social media going. All she wanted me to do was be successful for this swim. And it's given me so much fucking fire that was gone. My fire wasn't out. It was just, wasn't as heated as what it is now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and to move into that, and I don't want to. Obviously, Jenny's been prominent in this, but I agree with what you said at the start, which is really important. That suicide was around, unfortunately, before Jenny took her life, and it's using this now. Well, everyone is zoned into it to create more awareness, but it's not to forget that this is massive, man. Like you say, the stats you said at the beginning, the one you tagged me in today, like, it's fucking phenomenal how much of a killer this is.
And it's not that as well. It's like, so there's a lot of focus on the fact it's the biggest killer amongst men and all this and that, but you can't lose the fact of double the amount of women. So it's twice the amount of women are attempting it. It's just that what it is men are using more meaningful methods, which results in the death.
Wow.
So the higher death toll in men is because of meaningful methods.
Wow.
When actually it's double the amount of women who's actually attempting it. So it's just from every fucking angle you can think of, and it's not going nowhere. And you can't be beating around the bush when we're speaking about it. You've got to be making it comfortable to talk about. We've got Matt Millen. You've got running for Matt Millen, which I don't get this done. I'm not saying don't run for Matt Millen or anything like that. I just want it to be on the same level. Do you understand what I mean? It is a cancer in itself. Do you know what I mean?
You're right. I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. And
it's obviously not a physical cancer, but
you bang on.
In terms of how many it kills, how many people it kills and shit. Like,
and I think, like,
the way we talk about suicide needs to be the way we talk about cancer treatment. It needs to be fucking there.
Yeah, man. Interesting you say that, because as you're speaking then, I'm thinking, right, okay, so say someone gets cancer and there is then a structure within the NHS to support that person, give them ready to get them through.
Yeah.
When someone is suicidal, the support to help them is, from what I've been told from people that have been in this, is next to nothing compared to that. So, like, it's good that you've helped that with an analogy, because I know, like you say, cancer's all over the TV.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
On getting it, you go into the hospital, you get the procedure in terms of understanding what needs to be done, and
you get Matt Millen, you get the support, it's all there. There's a massive setup to support you. There's an ambulance, and it is, for example, if you're suffering with cancer and you take a bad turn, an ambulance will come and get you. You phone the emergency hospital and tell them you're feeling suicidal. They tell you to go to A&E. Ambulance is not going to come and get you. What you're going to do if you walk across 3 motorway bridges on the way to your fucking hospital?
Yeah. Well, again, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I think that I think that in A&E, they struggle with people coming in, because, again,
they're doing more now, so it's difficult. You have to meet a criteria, so it's hard. So, like, if me and you went into hospital now, my bone was poking out my leg, but I wasn't bleeding out, and then you got rushed into hospital and you got internal bleeding or whatever, you've got to assess the situation. You've got to be seen first. It's more life-threatening, and they have to do the same. They can't just see every single person who comes in and says they're suicidal. And I get that. I do get it. And obviously, you have to meet a criteria to get seen or stay on the wards or anything like that. But like, there is other things that started changing recently that is good, like the anti-sedum funding has to Tog Minds and Healthy Minds. They've now turned to crisis centres. So what happens now is, when you don't meet that criteria at A&E, you then get took to one of these crisis centres, and then you'll be seen there, assessed there, referred there. There's an aftercare team then that can come to your house. This is all stuff that is obviously getting better now. Do you know what I mean? With the NHS, so then there is an aftercare team that will come to these crisis centres within these crisis centres, whereas in previously you would have left the hospital for not meeting the criteria, and then that you're leaving the hospital to your own device to then go and maybe search for help or speak to your doctor. So that it is better now that you have got these places now who have received funding to be crisis centres. But again, it's only because we're talking about it ourselves. We need to talk more about it for more action to change, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, because I think it's a good place to bring it in, because I think like it's nice to hear, like you say, there are more things now being put in place. More awareness is creating that pressure, attention being put on the government to show what needs to be done, and it's being actioned. But I think that again, the reason that we wanted to do this tonight was to say, right, okay, so you know someone that's suicidal, okay, that's either attempted it or is planning to attempt it. They're being quite blatant. You know this is going to happen. Like, how do you approach that person, and how do you speak to that person? And these
direct, like you have to be direct, and you need to basically you need to go into. There's a lot of stuff you can learn, which I'll touch on now by going onto like pages like the Shining Light on Suicide page.
Can you just need to be learning before you go on? Can you elaborate on that page, because the free course you talked about would be good to highlight here.
So on that page, like this conversation we're having now kind of links into that page. Like there's a 5-minute introduction course on suicide, and someone there's a course on there. It's called How to Save a Life, and a 5-minute course and introduction. It goes straight into a 20-minute course then, and it goes through scenarios, teaches about how to be having these conversations. Like you need to be direct. If you need to ask someone, are you feeling suicidal? You mentioning that to them makes them feel, oh, he's comfortable speaking about this. I can speak to him. If too many people beat around the bush and they've put suicide into this bracket of a place that we can't talk about, which then puts those people feeling it into that bracket back, feeling the same. Oh, I can't talk about it. No one wants to know. People don't want to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
You create a situation of a conversation to someone who's suffering and thinking about suicide that shows them you're comfortable talking about it. You've opened up the door for them to speak back to you about it.
Powerful.
And it's just about learning all this stuff on there. There's stuff about safety plans. So if you have got someone who's feeling suicidal in your life, and you know they are, and it's about setting up a safety plan with them. Go around to the house, see what's in the house that's dangerous, find out who they can speak to, who they can reach out to. You go in someone's home, you can see how someone's living. Are they eating properly? Are they eating well? Are they looking after themselves? There's so much good content on that Shining Light from Suicide page. It's got links for the Greater Manchester Bereavement Services for anyone who struggles, even people like after this has happened with Jenny, like Jenny's friends, even yourself, I would advise yourself to phone these people and reach out to them and just talk about it. One of the worst things after a suicide took place is guilt, and I know you felt that from what you said to me. And like I would say to you, to speak to the Greater Manchester Bereavement Service, tell them you've just lost a friend through suicide, and speak to them about it. And it's because this is all stuff I wish I had it in 2001. I wish it was there. I might not have been a drug addict. I might not have been it's irrelevant because that's my story and that's maybe who I am. But at that time, things might have been so different. I might have been one of these people who's left school and done his driving test and gone to college because my family stayed together and my mum dealt with it better because we had all this stuff that's available. So I would tell anybody to reach out to it, you know.
And I think no, it's good. It's powerful that, and you're right, mate. Because I think the feeling I've had over the last couple of days has been numb and been dark. And you're right in terms of the guilt. And it was one of the best conversations I had was with you on that night. And again, because it was the honest, and even you saying that before about when you say to someone, "Are you suicidal?" You create kind of like a safe. You create a relationship, a connection, and that's just hearing that tonight's been powerful to me. because that word to them, then they feel, yeah, because it is taboo. A lot of people,
Yeah, it is.
even in public, like you're speaking about it, so you just said suicide. Don't say that, but
People don't want to talk about it, but why not? Because it's happening every day. Do you know what I mean? There's a man killing himself, one man killing himself every 2 hours at the minute.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Do you know what I mean?
And in terms of
why we're not talking about it,
And in terms of like the obviously there's a lot of groups, Directions for Men are one that stand out. Obviously, I
Massive.
know yourself and Jay Childs who were involved with them, and they become a parent to myself, and hopefully I'm on a phone call with Chris this week as well, about with regarding Jay and the work he's going to try and do, and I know you're doing so much for them as well. Like these organized, because they're now branching out in terms of Directions for Men going into different places now, aren't they? People can...
Yeah. So I'm actually starting soon with Chris. We're actually now working with probation and high risk prisoners. So prisoners who are coming out of jail and having to go into hostels, we're going to be starting attending play days with them and speaking to people coming out. So I'm going to be taking part in that with Chris. Obviously, it's close to me. Obviously, suffering, and a lot of people get mental health getting sent to prison rather than helped. So I think that's going to be good for me. There's loads of stuff going on.
Just touch on that one there, Will. So when you said then a lot of people get sent to prison because of mental health, so are you saying there that they could potentially get helped instead of going to prison?
There's so many situations where people don't have to end up in prison if the help was there.
Wow.
Yeah, so many. People suffer with mental health, and like some people's mental health shows in aggression. Some people's mental health shows in stuff that's going to send you to jail. Now, if these people like myself was seen at a younger age through trauma and helped, shit can be prevented. But they're leaving them. It's easier. It's easier to it's easier to work with like a hurting child than to fix a broken man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And there's so many men in prison who are on medication, like the amount of meds that get handed out in prison because of people's mental health. Like, what the fuck? It's prison. It's not an hospital. Why is if that's not true? If so many people don't go to jail because of mental health, why is so many people on medication in there? Do you know what I mean?
Why are they giving it him? Why are they giving it?
Why are they committing it? Why are they committing crimes? You know what I mean? Like even why like even let's talk about subjects that are not right, like domestic abuse. Why do men think it's okay to be like that towards a woman? Why do men think it's okay to rape a woman? Like, it's all wrong.
Yeah.
It's all not being dealt with. It's being dealt with after it's happened.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be going on.
It's interesting you said that now, because I spoke to a lady on Friday night who works within the NHS for mental health, and she actually works within a prison. And I was asking her questions and just trying to get a better understanding. And she was obviously only telling me things that I was allowed to hear, but she was talking about if sometime I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but basically up to the age of 7, if that child has been around abuse or been around traumatic things, whatever it may be, that before the age of 7, if it isn't dealt with, generally they're going to grow up to have severe mental health issues.
Definitely.
And where do you stand then? Where do you stand then in terms of at what age and in what way do you highlight and help raise awareness of this through? Do you think at that point it is the child that needs to be aware of it, or do you think it's the parents that need to be aware of it? Or
but then sometimes the parents, it's difficult because then sometimes the parents are not in a state of helping themselves, never mind helping the children, because their child's going through what they went through, and he's so much, like, for me, high school is where all the signs are.
Okay.
I reckon I could go in every class in a high school and I'll point out to you the ones that's going to end up not like the other ones, who's going to live a negative lifestyle. And I could possibly be wrong with some of them, but I reckon I'd get a good majority of it right in high school.
So in that scenario, do you think then it's high school that needs something to be implemented
more
with this, or do you think it needs to be earlier? Do you think it needs to be before high school because high school is where it's happening, or do you think high school is where they're probably mature enough to
understand? I think high school is where the transition starts.
Right, okay.
I think primary school is a lot more innocent still. high school through high schools where transition starts, behavioural patterns come, but then it's not on the teachers. Teachers are paid to teach, not
Yes, they're following a
the curriculum anyway. Do you know what I mean? I just feel there should be more in schools. I don't know. There should be more mental health in schools and stuff like that. Speaking about it.
I've spoke quite a lot about over the last 5 to 10 years. The amount I've started to research on the brain, the mind, emotions, and all of this sort of stuff. But there's no class, even, and that's on a higher depth. But there's no class in fucking secondary school that teaches you what an emotion is, or how to deal with it, or what's called, or what
definitely.
the thoughts are in my mind that I can't control. So the kid then goes and smashes a window, or punches a kid, or takes drugs.
No, he's just seeing. It's just
what that thought is. They aren't showing them what these thoughts are, where they could have been coming from. But again, do you think a barrier because schools don't want to have to do that because they fear that then they're going to be blamed or put into a bracket? Like, where do you think the resistance is that we aren't doing that in schools?
God,
I don't even know. Again.
I don't know. I don't even know where the answer would be to that. There's so many arguments to and for, isn't there? Like the kids leave them alone, and like obviously don't forget there's a lot of emotion and shit with teenagers going through puberty alone, and like it's so. I don't know, mate. It's so difficult. Do you know what I mean? Because then there's a lot of trauma come from school. You got to speak about the amount of suicides that come off bullying in school. People who are like LGBT and like people who are transitioning and they're not being able to have these conversations about if there was a class about emotion and like self-recognition, and if there was a class then someone who would resonate with someone who might be gay in the same class and they could talk, or someone who's being bullied could stand in that class and express how she's feeling being bullied and how she feels. Like, would that help? Like, there's a lot of suicides come from this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like from bullying and people finding their own gender or like their own like sexuality, and he's not helping schools about learning how to, like, there's so many suicides that come off financial debt as an adult. Why is there no education in schools about sorting your finances out, council tax, mortgages, jobs, inflation, rates of pay, how to save money? That in school will save someone from being in financial difficulty being older, which would prevent a suicide. There's so much you could do in school that would prevent suicides further on in life,
And I completely agree, 100%. And I think the finance is a massive one. The amount of people that fucking dread life because the bills, fucking people chasing them in terms of debt collection and worries of the house and rent and everything. And that is massive, mate. I completely agree. And again, it's not taught in terms of how to be clever with your money or anything.
No one even have that conversation. That conversation is not even a topic anywhere. Like, you'll go in forums and talk about mental health and all this shit. You're not even to the level of conversation. You don't even go there. And it's like I'm trying to talk about suicide, raise awareness. I can't give everyone the idea and the tools. Do you know what I mean?
So just to touch on, 100%, and just to touch on that, because you brought it up, and I think just to state that I'm a big believer of from my this is Ben speaking, but I personally do believe we should be going into secondary schools and implementing some different form of helping kids understand. However it's done, it needs to be brought into the educational system. But that's my personal view. But definitely. You mentioned something then that I just needed to bring up, Will, because you mentioned to me a couple of times, and I just want people to understand the potential negatives or positives to it and things to look out for, because your experience within knowing about this a little bit in terms of, you talked about the word forum. So obviously these are places online where people can go to essentially interact, get information. Now, obviously there's definitely going to be some negatives to it in terms of certain individuals, but then there's going to be massive positives to it as well. So from your experience, can you talk about that just to help people know about it as well?
What, in terms of the online forums and stuff?
Yeah, I think both in terms of ones that you recommend, but also just to make people aware of the dangers of them as well, or the positives. I think it's the awareness around that.
The online kind of forums are like the ones like the ones I've been on through, like the Anti-Sedum Fund and stuff like that, like they are run with NHS commissioners and people who work within the NHS. They are safe, and they are for people with lived experiences who want to listen to what they're trying to do. They want to listen to how we feel, so they can change stuff. And it's just if you and I start trying to post more stuff on these forums, and I'll try and I feel like I said before, I feel like I've slacked off a bit till recently, and I feel like Jenny has really lit a fire in me again. And like I'm gonna start trying to, like, if there's forums coming up, I'm gonna start putting my dates of forums on, just so you can listen in. They are good. They're full of constructive criticism. Like you can interact with the people from the NHS. They will listen.
Wow.
Obviously, they're not on there to take abuse and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
No,
They want to learn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to learn. They want to help. They want to find out what's wrong. They are trying. Like they think like young like the mental health service for young people's got given like £39 million last year. Like, so they do know these problems and they are trying to work with it. Do you know what I mean? So the forums are really good. You can learn a lot from them. I'm gonna start posting dates on my Instagram and stuff. So I'll find out find out more when forums are, and share links that you can log into. And you can just log onto the link, go on a Zoom call, and you're in the forum with everyone, and everyone's chatting, and you can share your lived experience if you feel like you got something to offer. Like they are good. So,
and in terms of that being, in terms of kind of going into what we talked about in terms of helping someone who's trying to help someone with that is suicidal. For the forum based around just supporting the person that is suicidal, or is there a forum potentially for?
The forum is like some of the forums you can get involved in. They're not for help. They're not to learn how to help someone. They're more for if you've got a lived experience you want to share with someone from the NHS. If you've got an idea, you think,
okay,
yeah. So if you've got any idea that you think, well, you know what, I've been through this. That's pretty shit. That needs changing. You can talk about that in these forums. These people from the NHS are in there as well. They can listen to you, and they'll be writing stuff down. You can write stuff down. It's all about connecting lived experience with trained, with where the money is and where what the services they're trying to change, you know. So the forums, the internet forums that are for mental health, the ones I've been on, I like that. And I'll see if there's any coming up, and I will share links on my Instagram and that, and I'll share them with you, and you can post them. Yeah. But then there's other stuff. So like while we're touching on the internet, there's one called Ripple Suicide Prevention, and this girl, she her brother killed himself, sorry, and she went into his like his computer or his phone. I can't remember exactly where she went into, and the content she found was like, it just shocked her so much. He'd been searching obviously methods and all kinds of stuff, and there was all kinds of forums where people were trying to assist him in taking his own life. And she's been kicked out of loads of forums for being a pro-lifer. That's what they called her, a pro-lifer, yeah. And kicked her out of these forums, and she's like banned. She's been banned from more forums than anyone else before, like for being a pro-lifer. But then she's created this thing now, like Network Rail uses it. I'd have to have a lot. I don't know. There is big companies that are using it. So like when you have the intranet, like within your company, if anybody in your company then searches something harmful to them, it redirects them. First of all, it takes them off the page, takes them to a breathing exercise, counts down from 10 seconds with them, tells them to breathe, and then redirects them then to online help, people they can talk to. So rather than taking them to places of where they can learn bad stuff, it actually takes them to more of a positive place where they can learn how to survive.
When you said that, like I literally got shivers and like all over my body, and in a positive way. Like it made me a bit emotional, because that's fucking powerful, that man. Whoever thought of that and brought that into place.
She's class, yeah. She's on Instagram, like Ripple Suicide Prevention, yeah.
That's something that's saving lives, man. Just that, taking them to something that says breathe with me, and then taking
it's free, man. If you've got a business and you've got your own computer systems, get onto her, like get on her website, chat to her. She'll set it up. Like you can get it set up. That's something that can get set up on your computer systems now, like in your companies or whatever you're using. It can be shared. It's getting used and it's there to be used.
And from your experience, Will, because I just want to, I think that you've got a lot of intelligence in terms of everything here. You're not just talking from someone who's experienced it. You're talking about someone who obviously shows a true want because of the knowledge you've got on statistics, on the knowledge you've got of what's out there. And I think this is powerful, mate. And I want to say it to you off air as much as I am on, but I truly hope you get into this field in terms of really driving out. I think it will impact a lot of people's lives, mate. But I think that, can you just highlight, and again, this is Will speaking, so he's not going off anything, and I'm asking Will to do this. So I'm asking, if you could give people an idea of what you would look out for in signs of someone being suicidal. So just if anyone's listening or worried, like what would you say? I mean, it's hard to say, but just generalize. What would you say? Right, okay, this is potentially what I would be looking for. If you're happy to say that.
Yeah, if one of the biggest things is, say if you're working, if somebody's in your life and you like they're always down, they don't seem like they're ever happy or their emotions are always negative. If all of a sudden you come in, if you don't know if you work with them, I don't know if you live with them, I don't know if you're in college with them, university, school. If all of a sudden, if all of a sudden the mood becomes settled, happy, content, and that's if someone becomes content and settled and happy, but that's not like them or how they've been for so long, they've made peace with a decision that they've made to potentially take their own life. They've accepted what they're gonna do. They've actually come to peace with it. And then that's like a massive kind of indication, you know. People's it depends on the person. So that's how one person could kind of
just to jump in, mate, because I think you said that to me on the phone the other day, and I think that's one again that I wasn't lying when I came away and texted you saying that conversation really helped me. But you said that on that chat, and I wouldn't have known that. And again, when you said it, it made pure sense, and it was like you said, it's like they made peace, and in that I think that knowledge for a lot of people could be a lifesaver, because that is a transition if it's going to happen very soon. So I think for a lot of people listening to this who are worried, that is a key sign to look out for, mate.
massive.
So I'm really glad you said it. That is a sure sign of shit. Something could happen very, very soon.
Like if you can like if you can leave such a dark place like overnight and you just become it don't happen. Do you know what I mean? I've been battling with mental health for years. You don't just wake up and totally in a new place and it's gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Unless you've actually just come to the conclusion and made peace with what you're gonna do, you know?
Yeah.
Some people some people must find comfort within themselves that it's over. Like they've accepted my pain's gonna be over. I'm happy now. And that's a massive indication. Do you know what I mean? But then other people, it can start these further away signs. Obviously, like people presence, the way they look. Have they always been clean shaven? Are they not no more? Are they losing weight? Did he smell? You know, like, are they not being clean? These are all signs of depression and obviously going to that place. So,
and at that point, where do we go in terms of the first thing is, like you say, to ask that question: are you suicidal?
Yeah, safety plan next. Fine, like you want to speak to him, you want to know who's around him, you want to know who they can contact. You want to know how someone's feeling as well. Like when you ask someone, like, are you suicidal? Like, don't listen to reply. Listen to understand.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Don't. It's like, and I think that's like one of the main things. How many times as people, even myself, you'll be listening in a conversation, and whilst you're in that conversation, you're thinking about what you're about to reply before that person's finished his sentence. Like I do it, and like I'm not having that. No one else doesn't. I don't give a fuck what 100%. You say. You know what I mean? So
without doubt,
this is serious. Like for 1 minute, like don't listen to reply at this in this kind of, this is life and death, you know what I mean? Listen to understand someone at this point.
That's
Do you know what I
powerful.
mean?
And I think
Every time you listen to reply, you've probably had this listen to reply all week or all month. The moment you listen to understand, they're gonna see a massive difference in that with you, and you might just save the life just with that, you know.
Mate, another really fucking powerful
So,
point. It was hard for me to put in then because it was doing what you fucking said for.
yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, what the
in the
fuck?"
midst of talking about it.
But it was what you were saying, and even Rebecca's come in with that's powerful. But that. This is exactly why I wanted to chat with you, mate, because these are key points. And another one you talked about was in terms of when you offer someone an ear, when you show them support, fucking be there.
Yeah. Don't ever tell someone you're gonna phone them back and then don't. Do you know what I mean? Don't. This is people who are struggling. You might have been. You could have been the last person that spoke to that day when they was on an edge, and then say you spoke to someone who's on the edge. You say, "Listen, just I'm gonna phone you at 6 o'clock after work. I'm gonna phone you and speak to you." They could sit there from 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock to wait for you, and if you don't phone them, they could be any little thing can be enough. Don't tell someone you're gonna phone them if you don't. Don't tell someone you're gonna be there if you're not gonna be there. Don't ask someone how they're feeling if you're gonna listen to reply. Just don't bother. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna make them feel worse.
So could an approach to that be? Because I think that's hitting me hard because I know, like I said, I work with a lot of people and I can be like, I'll call you at this time or I'll call you that day, and then life catches you. So it's maybe transitioning, like
But it's
taking a step back and
understanding
how
who.
you, and how you approach, and what you say. Yeah, exactly that.
Well, it's understanding who you're saying that to. If you were just chatting to me in the gym or like you'll tell me you'll phone me back. I might speak to you a couple of days later. I'll do the same to you. Do you understand what I mean? Like it's understanding who and why you're telling someone you're gonna. Me telling you I'm gonna phone you back at 6 o'clock because I can see you're not feeling good.
Yeah,
Is different than me saying, right, Ben, I'm gonna get off from the gym. I'm gonna phone you later.
yeah, 100%.
And then don't. Do you know what I mean? If you're entering these serious conversations, you tell someone you're gonna phone them. Phone them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because that phone call is what they could be waiting for all day. Could be that could be their last hope, and they think, right, well, I'm going to wait for him to phone me like he said first. You know.
yeah, no, 100%. And again,
Yeah.
that's something massively I took. And to another question I got for you, mate, which is, say you, and this is me asking you personally. So again, guys, this is just me and Will chatting, open and honestly, because I'm asking just Will questions here. So say you knew someone was suicidal, Will, and this is me interested in what your response would be, and you start to talk to them in the conversation, you connect in the conversation, and there starts to become a bit of a bridge, and you potentially see a little bit of a shift in them. Where would you go in terms of thinking, right, okay, this person's potentially telling me what I want to hear, or actually me being very positive and action focused towards this person is going to help them? Like, how would you? I know this is a tough question potentially to ask you, so I apologize firstly. I just feel I'm interested in this one in terms of how would you approach it? So you've connected, and are you assessing whether they potentially are just trying to say things to please you, and you can tell that, or is there a bit there where you actually think, no, this person is actually showing signs of real want to change or do something, and then you can help them into that direction? Or is that just unfucking known? Is that the
It's
question?
just that's like saying I know what your favorite meal is. Like it's not. That's God. It's a bit of a stupid kind of example,
no,
but
I know what you're saying. That's why I thought the
until
question would be hard, to be fair.
until you're talking to that person in that moment, and until you're listening to understand that person and not reply, again, it's the way the conversation is going to go between you two. In that point, in that moment, like there's been times when I've attempted to take my own life. Like I would not start then being even conversation. I wouldn't be in that conversation going, "Oh, I felt like that." When I felt like that, I was trying to do this. Like I am not going to talk about a method of how I try to do something that can put an idea into their head that they could potentially go and do.
Yeah.
So it's just if you are having those conversations with people and you've been someone like myself, don't ever talk about a method that you've tried, or don't ever talk about any form of method or anything that can assist them to put them in danger. You know, if you are connecting with someone in these conversations, just kind of stay away from things that can cause them more harm. That's what I'd be trying to do. And like you say, I'd be trying to, what if I connected with him, if I felt a connection, I'd be trying to dig a bit deeper. Who can you talk to? Have you just chat to your mum, chat to your dad, you got family, you got a girlfriend, you got kids. Talk about positive influences around them that you can make connections with. Just try and connect those dots. But again, you don't know. I don't know what I would be connecting with that person with in that conversation. Every conversation is going to be different. Like I can't tell you now what you like to eat unless you told me. You know.
Yeah.
It's an hard question to answer, you know, because you don't know.
And I think you've given more than enough in terms of answering it the way you did. And I know it was a tough question. I'm just like you say, just firing it. But I think this is enough.
So many different. You could be talking about addiction with someone that's causing someone to be suicidal. You could be talking about someone who got bad suicidal thoughts from the military. You could be talking about someone in a bad financial crisis. You could be talking to someone trying to find their sexuality. Every conversation could be so different, and every connection could be so different. With each conversation, I would only try and think about stuff to stay away from and positive stuff to go to, family members and good things, how's work or what's going good for you, you know, like try and point out better stuff rather than worse stuff.
Yeah. And it's fucking, it's funny because in my mind now, all I'm playing back is the interrupt thing, but it's a different conversation.
Well, it's good though, because at least you're thinking about. But it's good though, because you might be more aware now when you're talking to people. You know what I mean?
It's just funny. I'm like there every time you're speaking. I'm like, don't interrupt me, don't interrupt.
It's good, man. Yeah.
But what I was going to say then was, and this is something that is coming from me. This and meaningful. Like, if you feel someone is suicidal, mate, but you don't know them well enough to know anyone they know, and you can't get hold of that information, is the best answer that, and I don't know that, and you might not know the answer. I'm not asking you to give the correct answer, just advice. Like, do you go to the police? Do you go to an organization, or is that losing their trust? Like, what would you do? Like, if you, and I'm talking here, mate.
If you're concerned about someone, someone might be somewhere. You might know someone. You might know someone's at an hotel, or I don't know how you know information, or any mum does. But if you're concerned about someone, and you're concerned that person's in danger, phone the police. Tell the police are in danger. They connect to ambulance services straight away. You can give them phone numbers. They'll pinpoint where the phone is. They'll go to them. They'll send an ambulance straight. Well, from that switchboard, you tell them you're worried about someone. There's been numerous occasions I've had to do it myself, and you speak to the switchboard, the ambulance people will phone you back, they assess the situation with you, they'll get your phone numbers off them, last time you spoke to them, an ambulance will be redirected right to where their phone is, and the ambulance will pull up wherever they are, and you go into the hotel or go into where the house, knocking on the door, and then they'll be like, are you okay? They could potentially then take him to a crisis at hospital and assess there. And yeah, definitely, if you are concerned that somebody is unsafe, you need to phone the emergency services. Always, it's a must. Right, do you know what I mean? I'm not a professional. You're not a professional. Yeah, these people are professionals, and they'll send professionals. You don't know what you're turning up to at that place. You could be turning up to. You could be turning up to all kinds of scenarios. Get the professionals there, because they're the ones who will save a life. You know what I mean?
100%, mate. And I think that was a question that has been on my mind, and the answer you're giving there has made it very, very firm to me in terms of what I would do in that scenario again, mate. And appreciate you saying that. I think one last thing, there's a comment that's just come through, and I know this lady you've spoke to today, so I'm going to bring up the comment. Rebecca's kind of put, she's put, police are great in those circumstances. She's completely agreed.
Yeah.
Then she put, it's the aftercare that fails them.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, go on.
No, all I was going to say was then, is everything we've kind of highlighted tonight about the organisations that are now becoming more apparent because of the awareness, is that aftercare now getting better?
Yeah, it is now getting better, definitely. And like I touched on before, you would be expected to take yourself to hospital, and then once you've not met the criteria, you'd be expected to take yourself back away from hospital.
Right.
You
Okay, I get that.
on your way home, you could walk over 3 motorways, you could jump off 3 motorway bridges, you could cross 3 train tracks, you could cross 2 tram lines. You don't know where anyone lives. You shouldn't be expected to leave. So now they put in place recently a taxi service, so people can get a taxi straight back to the house.
Wow.
Or straight to these crisis centres now. Like the crisis centres are now open till late at night, whereas in like they would shut at 4:30, like the Anti-Sedum Fund, like the ones in Tameside, like Togmind, Healthy Minds, they're open till like 8:30 at night now, where you can go straight to. And yeah, like they have to, like, she is right and she's spot on, but it has been addressed, and it has been addressed like over the, I think it was like 4 months ago. In one of these forums, it was brought up. Somebody had harmed themselves. They've got back to the flat, and the flat's still the same now. There should have been an aftercare team who cleaned up the flat, so the negative memory and impact wasn't there to walk back into. But all this is what people are bringing up and people are speaking about. Definitely, she's not wrong, but
Yeah, and she's just
it
put.
is getting better.
Yeah, no. She's put the saying, which is it's slowly getting better.
Yeah,
but
he's
not
bob
fast
on.
enough. But then she's put these lives, and you guys doing this stuff is amazing. So thank you for Rebecca. But thank you to you too, Rebecca, and also thanks to Will. And
Yeah.
she's also put, I am available to offer help in work hours, and I'll share Rebecca on my
Please
Insta
fuck
story
it.
after this.
I can't believe, like, I was laughing
Yeah.
in disbelief today because of her. Like,
Wow.
honest to God, like, we did one session today and I just couldn't fucking believe it, mate. Like, I was laughing. Like, everyone's differently, but like, if I can't believe something, I laugh. For like, fuck off. You know what I mean? And I couldn't believe how I felt. Like, I was laughing. Like, fuck off. Like, no way. So I'd like madness, laughing. Like just like I didn't know what else to. I couldn't believe it. Do you know what I mean?
I love it.
Honestly, man. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna, Rebecca. I think me and Will will both share.
Million percent, man.
I think Will to say that, man, it is phenomenal, and
Yeah.
the connection I've had with you, Rebecca, is strong, and seeing what you do and the support you've shown, and I'm sure hopefully there'll be a connection with all three of us potentially going forward.
I'll be speaking about that EFT a lot, man. Definitely.
No.
I've already had conversations with people already from today about it. So
amazing. But Will, mate, I want to finish, mate, just by saying this has probably been more than I could have asked tonight. In my mind, it was to get you on to tell your story, but also to shine a light on these organisations that are out there in terms of helping people help that person. But I think one thing I wanted to highlight is, I don't know whether I should jot you backstage before I say this, but just your knowledge on this, mate, is phenomenal. Like, you just spoke from the heart tonight and a lot of this. Yes, you've got the knowledge and the statistics and all of these different aspects, but I think your learned knowledge and learned experience in what you are talking about is so apparently fucking bang on the mark in terms of me listening to it, thinking, man, yeah, that makes sense. And it's helped me. A lot of what you said tonight, I'm going to hold my hands up and say it's helped me now potentially make better decisions in these situations. And I'm being honest with that, because I've been questioning myself a lot over these last couple of days. And this conversation has actually massively helped me. I've taken a lot from this myself.
If that's what one conversation can do, imagine what 10 conversations could do, or 20 conversations, you know.
I'm gonna be sharing this fucking wide, mate, because I think what you've done tonight and what you've given is powerful. And I truly hope, and I'm gonna be hopefully trying to push you as much as I can for you to get out there and do this morning. I know you've got a lot on. I know you're pushing for the swim, but I also know you've got a lot of passion for this. And people relate, man. And I just think not just the people that are in that position, but I also think people will relate to you that are trying to help, because you fit both markers, mate. You truly do. You relate to the people that are in a suicidal position, but you also relate to people that are trying to help, because you everything you said's branched that. And I just can't thank you enough. And I said it to you in a message the other day. I can't remember when. It might have been a week or two ago. I can't remember when it was. Just said, don't change, man. I know you wouldn't do, but don't change the way you speak or who you are and how you are. Because there's some people that don't resonate with me. There's some people that won't resonate with you. But as we both know, we're out here with the best intentions, and we do know that what we're doing does help some people. And all I'll ever say to you, mate, is never change, Will, man. Never change what you're doing and who you are.
Right. But I appreciate that. I'm only smiling because it makes me
That's the last
uncomfortable.
bit. I'm going to drop it backstage.
Makes me
Guys,
feel uncomfortable when people say good stuff.
I had to say it to your face, mate. I remember everyone would be like, "Why did you get him off and say it?" Like, but Will, honestly, mate, to finish now, no compliments. Just want to say thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
The comments have been unbelievable. So there's been massive support in terms of what you said, but also who you are. Guys, if you don't follow Will, please give him a follow on Instagram. It goes from
Soldier, Prisoner, Swimmer.
Say it again, mate.
Soldier, Prisoner, Swimmer.
Soldier, Prisoner, Swimmer. Check him out. Give him a follow, guys. Inspirational guy in the works he put in, but he's very honest about his journey as well, which I think is integral and key and shows a lot about his guy. Well, I'm going to drop you backstage and meet you there in 2 seconds, mate, okay? Guys, thank you. Big love to Will. Boom. Guys, I'm actually just buzzing that I've done that tonight and that Will's come on with me, and I do express, I know he's backstage now, so I can say it all, but I didn't know how that was going to go tonight. I truly didn't. And I know Will he's so raw and honest. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, what's this guy going to say when he comes on? But at the same time, I needed to believe in him because I do believe in him as an individual. I believe in his story. I believe in who he is now. And I believe in his intentions to help people. And tonight shown to me more than ever that this guy's got a lot to give and to help people. And I'm honest in terms of a few things. Will knows where my head's been in the last couple of days. And he's spoken honestly to me, but some things he said to me tonight have helped me with my belief in terms of being able to handle some situations better and make different decisions. And again, that's what it's about, guys. It's about learning and understanding. And I hope we can not just drive this out tonight, but keep this really pushing forward. And I know there's a lot of people at the minute that are fueled up to do something. And all I'd say to that is don't let that fire burn out, man. I know I'm not going to let it burn out. I know that Christine Appleyard isn't going to let it burn out. She's fueled up to drive this message as well. And I know Will, for damn sure, won't as well. So, and Rebecca as well, who's been very prominent tonight. And I've got a lot of respect for the support and just for how outspoken she is in terms of wanting to help as well. So, guys, this is closing down episode number 5. I am going in for an operation tomorrow. So it might be a couple of weeks now before the Mindset TuneUp show. All I'd ask, guys, is if you've liked tonight, guys, and if you like what Will said, if you can click the like button on YouTube, that'd be amazing. And also, if you want to tune into more of these shows, please click subscribe. That'll be massively appreciated as well. You'll get notifications. And the last one is, again, I'm not a big person to ask for shares. I never ask for it on Instagram or social media, but this one's important. And I think what Will has talked about tonight needs to be heard. It truly does. So if you know anyone that this would impact, whether it's an organization or an individual, please share this to them so they can hear kind of Will speak and talk about what he's talked about tonight. But guys, thank you all for logging in as always. Appreciate the comments, appreciate the support, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you soon.